2020. The time is 9 o'clock a.m. Happy last day of April to everyone. I would ask that you mute your phone unless you have something to say during public comment, or obviously if a commissioner asks a question. So with that, I would ask clerk to the board if she would conduct the roll, please.
Commissioner Flower?
Present.
Commissioner Prince?
Present.
Commissioner Kanda?
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith?
Present.
And clerk to the board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. Kara, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Give me just a second here, if you would, please. I guess we can move on to audience introductions. If you are on the call this morning, I would ask that you introduce yourself, please.
Elliot Jackson, Wet Mountain Tribune.
Jack Bubis for the Sentinel.
Cindy Flower, EPR coordinator.
Tom Shepard, West Custer County Hospital District.
Anyone else this morning? Okay. Amendments to the agenda, gentlemen?
I have none. None here either.
Okay, I want to just read through the agenda, make sure we're all on the same page. I'm going to try to make a habit of this morning. Our agenda today has 4 new items of business. Review the vouchers, the rooftop unit, read the submitted landfill bids, and consideration of live BOCC meetings. That's what I have. If anybody has anything different, gentlemen, speak up.
Tom, this is Clint.
Go ahead, Clint.
Do you want me to read the bid for the Justice Center project?
No, that's May 5th. That's on the agenda for the 5th. Yeah. Yep.
Very good.
So, yeah, we'll wait on that. Thank you for asking. And just so we don't have a train wreck when we get there, Clint, do you have all the bids in your possession that you're aware of?
I hope so. I had 4. Tara called me this morning to say there were a total of 11, so I'm still in the process of printing out some here, but I think 11 is the number.
Okay, yeah. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. I just didn't want to get to that point in the agenda, and then we all say, oh, we're missing 7 bids, and so that way you have some time to work on those as we move forward. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Anything else, gentlemen?
No.
Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. We do not have any approval of minutes this morning. Commissioner items. Commissioner Prince, would you begin, please?
Sure. Thank you. On the 22nd, I attended the Upper Arkansas Council of Government teleconference meeting. It was very good. Of course, on Thursday the 23rd, I listened to the OEM update on what's going on. On the 24th, we had CCEDC workshop, stakeholder meeting later that day. And let's see, today I attended the OEM update, and I think that's about where I am at the moment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Commissioner Kanda?
Nothing big new other than the normal stuff.
except I did firm up the meeting for Monday, and it will be at the Saddle Club. It's got to go on that, and got Fern lined up to come over on Friday. I want to get a hold of Alyssa and see if she can meet us over there, and we'll line up the room on Monday afternoon around 2. And then the meeting will be held on Monday, the 1st, or the 4th of May. And I'll send a meeting announcement to everybody announcing that, and exactly where the room is going to be at the Santa Club, I should say. So that's all I got.
Is that still at 1 o'clock then?
Yeah, still at 1 o'clock.
Okay, thanks.
And a couple questions. Well, I'll wait. Is that it, Bill? Sorry.
That's all.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah, let me ask a couple questions to council real quick while I'm thinking about it. Clint, we will not record that executive session on the 4th. Is that correct?
Actually, it's a personnel matter. It does need to be recorded. It's only when I'm giving you legal advice that we go off the record.
Okay, so the meeting on the 4th, the broadband meeting, we will have to record that on
yeah.
May 4th? Yeah, I was going to ask you the same question about this afternoon.
Yeah, and this afternoon is the personnel issue. Yeah, the meeting on the broadband will also need to be recorded.
Okay. Miss Kelly, are you on top of that, both of those?
Yep.
I assumed you were planning on going to both, so we'll record both. Okay, very good. All right, thank you. Let's see. I guess we see the 27th was our last meeting. So yeah, April 28th. I continue work in the clerk's office and the treasurer's office doing some precautionary COVID-19 work. Did that on the 28th. 29th, I was back in the clerk's office working. I also signed some SSC documents, secure services for that broadband project. Dale Mullen brought those in. I also yesterday attended the CCI Mountain County District meetings. They were Zoom conference, there were about 20 of us on, and I thought I had a meeting at 11, so I didn't have that meeting, but I was able to give a report from Custer County to that group and kind of brought them up to speed on what we were doing. Really sounded to me like we were a little ahead of the curve on some counties as far as reopening, having our businesses have a plan, and looking at May 4th. I was proud of the public health and OEM to have us to that point when other counties were saying they weren't sure what they were going to do about reopening, weren't sure when they were going to do it. One county said they would probably be 2 weeks before they were ready to start the reopening process, and I just felt good about that. I thought, man, we're on top of that. I spoke to Deb Monahan during that conference, asked her a question about if she had any feeling of when we might hear back on our waiver to CDPHC in the governor's office. And again, I hate to say it, but I was proud of the answer, or I was proud of what I heard. She said Custer County is the third county in the state to request a waiver. She said we're going to get a lot of them, but she said obviously Eagle County, Summit County, and Custer County are pushing the curve on trying to move forward to get out from under some of these orders and restrictions so that they can deal with their own counties. So she also said that she thought we might hear as early as today. So I was uplifted by that. I felt good about that. And then, of course, listened to the policy group meetings, attended those, and then I just wanted to mention that we will have an executive session this afternoon. I wanted to kind of lay out the format of that. When we get through public comment of this meeting this morning, I'm hoping, I anticipate, BOCC will go into recess, and then we will reconvene. We will then convene an executive session this afternoon, and then at the conclusion of that executive session, we will reconvene the BOCC meeting, have statements by the chair and the attorney, and then we will adjourn the BOCC meeting. Clint, I'm assuming we'll need to get back on this conference call to do that. Is that correct? Mr. Smith?
I'm sorry, I thought I hit the button. Yeah, we'll need to convene in public session, and there needs to be a motion to go into executive session, and we'll end the conference call. But we will need to go back in again on the record to, for us to make the statements that are required after we come out of executive session.
And I was thinking now, because that will be a face-to-face meeting, do we have to get back on the conference call, or can we just conduct the adjournment of the BOCC meeting live?
I would say let's just adjourn it. It's a formality, and it will be recorded if anybody really wants to hear us, come out of the executive session and just make the statement.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, it would be legal for us to come out of executive session, reconvene the BOCC meeting, and make a decision about something. That's totally legal. I wouldn't anticipate it, but you never know. And if we do, as you said, it will be recorded, and Kelly will post those recordings fairly quickly after the meeting. Correct, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. So I think we're okay. So we will not reconvene via the conference call this afternoon after the executive session. We will do that live, face-to-face. And if anybody's got any concerns about us meeting this afternoon, I have gone over to the DSO. We will be the only ones in there. It will be closed to the public or anyone else while we're meeting. And so I don't anticipate any issues there. And then I've got just a few other things, gentlemen, I want to bring up. Huff Electric came in yesterday at my request and moved two electrical data boxes in the clerk's office that were out in the middle of the floor. And they weren't in the middle of the floor, but they were certainly, one of them was right square in the middle of a traffic lane. So they did that, and they also installed some fourplexes under Kelly's counter and under the new portion of her counter for the public research computer desk. So very excited about getting that stuff done. That's going to clean up that whole counter area for those ladies. I think they, as well as myself, are pretty tickled about that moving forward. And then, Kelly, just a side note, after the executive session, would you go down to Frontier Kitchens and pick a color selection for the Formica for your countertop?
Yes, I can do that. You talk to them?
I did, and he or she will be expecting you this afternoon, if that's okay.
Okay.
He thought we'd be out 4 or 5 days before we got Formica, so that'd be excellent.
Okay, I can do that.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So obviously we got a bid on some Formica from Frontier Kitchens. And then I got a call from John Spar in Wetmore asking about maintenance on the air conditioning units down there. And I just verbally told him, yes, that's our typical deal. He just makes those arrangements and gets those serviced, and he just wanted to make sure he was okay with that. So, gentlemen, I also told him, yeah, that was kind of our standard deal. and so he said he would make arrangements for that. Then the last thing I want to talk about this morning, I met with Kelly and Kara, and we discussed, and actually it was at Kelly's suggestion, she got to checking her documents and her responsibilities as clerk to the board, and one of those is for her to prepare and distribute the agenda. And she believes, and Kelly, you can certainly speak to this, she believes it's her responsibility to do that. And so I spoke to Kelly and Kara, and I think that it's probably the route we're going to go. Kelly, if you'd speak to that, and then Clint, if you have an opinion about that, be more than willing to hear that, and we can discuss it a little bit, gentlemen. I don't know that it needs to be a formal motion, but it's just, to me, it's a process protocol thing. So, Kelly, you want to jump in?
Yeah, so just a little history on that. When Debbie was still clerk, she had actually deputized the BOCC admin assistant to do some of the things that by statute she is supposed to do. And I took some of those things back over when I took over as clerk, and the agenda was one of them that I didn't take back over, and I just felt like I needed to do that since it's part of my job, and I never have deputized Kara, and so I think it would just work better that way.
Okay. Thank you. Clint, do you have an opinion about the need for a motion to that effect, or are we okay for administrative process? Clint, you still on?
Okay, I was on, and then I muted it in order to answer you. So
I've done the same thing. Yep.
I'll figure this out in another 3 or 4 years if we're still doing this.
Yeah, there you go.
This is just internal administrative process. You don't need a motion on it.
Okay, and so, gentlemen, questions, comments, opinions?
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
This is Jay. I'm fine with it. The only thing that I really like, each time we put out an agenda, we also put out the part of that agenda is the items that go along with it that we normally get. So we have a full package each time. Is that asking too much?
No, that'll keep happening.
Yeah, you're talking about the board packet, Jay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think, as things get added to the agenda, they'll probably get added to the board packet too. So, yeah, and so between Kelly, Kara, and I, we'll work on that transition and move forward. I want it to be made very clear. I said this to Kara, I hope, but I believe she took it at face value. This was not a punitive move to take this agenda thing away from her. It was more of giving it back to Kelly. So Kara and I talked and said, look, this is no inference or reflection upon your job that you've done with that. It's just something Kelly felt like she should have been doing, and so we'll move forward with that. So that's all I have on commissioner items. Anything else, gentlemen, come to mind?
Not for me, sir.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Kanda?
Negative.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. Upper Ark Water Conservancy District report. The only thing I would have to report there is that Mr. Cinderhoff requested a copy of the opposers that were set to be dropped when the water court judge got to that date on his docket. Kara did forward him that list from the last document that I received, and so that's really the only thing I would have to report there. Anything else on Upper Ark?
Nothing from me.
Okay.
No, sir. No, sir.
Attorney items?
I think my phone is on this time. So
Yep.
the only thing I wanted to talk about was the letter we got from West Custer County Hospital District, signed by Bob Tobin, making a proposal and hoping that we could give a response today. It's not on the agenda, but I looked over that letter, and one of the primary things is they're talking about trying to include Eastern Custer County in the hospital district so they could provide ambulance service there. But they asked the Board of County Commissioners, or Custer County, to pay the legal cost for that. And I'm glad that Tom's on the phone, because as a preliminary matter, I think we need to have some idea of what that cost would be, who they plan to use as an attorney to do this, what the retainer would be, what the hourly rate would be, an estimated cost of what they think the total legal fees would be, just as a preliminary matter before we discuss the proposal. So I just wanted to bring that up now.
Okay, yeah, good point. That's scheduled for May 5th on the agenda as well. The only reason I didn't officially respond was because I know, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, but we had talked a little about that, and he's been on the last couple conference calls, so I assumed that Tom had informed his bunch that was on the agenda for May 5th. Is that correct, Tom?
I didn't know it was on the agenda for May 5th. I thought it was on today's agenda.
Okay. All right. Sorry. When we just... Go ahead.
I apologize, but Tom, I did send you an email telling you that I added it to the May 5th agenda. Maybe it got lost or you missed it, but I put it on as an agenda item.
Okay. Thanks, Jay. I just missed it.
No problem.
All right. Not a big deal there. Okay, so, good point, Clint. I don't know that Mr. Shepard's prepared to follow up on that discussion today or not. If he is, we can certainly talk about that real quick.
The only estimate I was aware of was an estimate that was given to Bob Tobin by our legal counsel that estimated the legal costs would quite possibly be in the range of $25,000 to $30,000.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm sure... Go ahead, Clint.
I just was if he could disclose who the legal counsel is. I'm just curious if it's somebody out of Denver, Colorado Springs, Pueblo.
It's somebody out of Denver, I believe. I'm not sure of the individual's name.
All right, I was just curious. Okay, that's all I had for now. We can talk about it on May 5th.
Sure. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Clint. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have a protracted conversation about that on the 5th. So, okay.
Let's make sure that we get enough information to be talking intelligently about it. So I'm sure they'll send us some more detail, I hope.
I would guess. Yeah, I would guess that someone will be in attendance, either teleconference or live, with whatever information they feel is appropriate. So, okay, administrative assistant items.
I don't have any today. Thank you.
Well, shoot. I was hoping today might be the second time ever. Okay, thank you, Kara. I appreciate the work you've been doing. And gentlemen, you may or may not know, she's had a little issue with her laptop. She has been splitting her time between working at home and driving into the office when somebody needed some things that she couldn't do at home. So I appreciate her efforts doing her job as well. So thank you, Kara. We'll move into public comment. Anybody have anything that they'd like to comment on that's not on the agenda? Okay, Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. Gentlemen, any record of any unfinished business?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Kanda?
None here either.
Nor do I. All right, we'll move on to new business. We will allow public comment on each action item prior to the commissioners voting on it. First item of business this morning is review the vouchers and sign the checks. I certainly have looked them over. I assume fellow commissioners did the same. Any questions, comments about that?
From Candace's point of view, it would look fine. Thanks to Donna, doing a good job. Thank you, Donna.
If I could, I just had one question. We had it's very a minor issue, but it just kind of stuck out. We had a $600 bill for towing a Durango.
Yes.
Is there a story about, do I need to know what that is, or is it just normal?
When I tell you, you will go, oh, that's right, yeah. That was the sheriff's vehicle that was totaled, and they had to come up from Denver to get that and haul it back. The insurance company bought that, and I wanted to ask Don about that yesterday, and I got busy. I'm pretty sure we're going to get reimbursed for that. So, yeah,
right.
That's a good question. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, and there were some other items that I saw that kind of I raised an eyebrow about. They weren't significant enough for me to bother Donna because I know she's been hammered. Vernon, maybe you can answer this question. I see we had 2 entries in there for end point. I didn't write down the exact dollar amounts. I think it was like $165 or something. I could look real quick, but could you speak to that, Vernon? Vern, are you on? Okay, he must be busy. I was trying to look those up real quick, but I'm sure I'll never find them now that I want to. So, anyway, I think that's a technology and IT thing, endpoint, but I'm not sure. I see that we also bought some Surface Pros. Gentlemen, did you see that? Did you get a price on those?
I noticed it, but I don't.
Yeah, I saw it too, and it was fine. We need to make a motion to accept this and discuss it some more, or what do we want to do?
Yeah, we can. That would be appropriate, Commissioner Candace. Thank you.
All right, I move we accept the report and the vouchers and sign the checks.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second it. The April 20th.
That's correct, yeah. Been moved and seconded to approve
The host has joined the conference.
April 2020 vouchers. Thank you, Commissioner Kanda. I got off on the whole question thing right too early. Any further discussion about that? I was just checking my notes. And I see we had another postage bill off of our postage machine upstairs, but seems like a lot, but I would imagine we use it a lot. And Donna, and with respect to Donna, she called and asked me if I had any questions because of the whole not face-to-face thing going on, and I told her I didn't, and then I went back over them again, and I thought, oh, wait a minute. So I apologize to her because I'm sure she would have answered these questions had I asked her, but those were the only things I had. Any other discussion, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Kanda?
No.
I will also tell you that these copies of these vouchers will be in the VSO office when we get there at 1 o'clock for us to initial, and then we will return those to Donna.
Sounds like a plan.
Any further discussion?
I hope
public comment.
Sir,
Say again.
Vernon.
Okay, go ahead, Vernon.
I'm sorry. I heard you mention my name. I was picking up the phone and I accidentally hung up instead of taking it off mute. Did you have a question for me that I need to answer, sir?
Well, I was just, there were two entries in our vouchers this month for end point. I think it was like $167 each, and I wondered if that was an IT thing or...
Sorry, I didn't catch the name, sir.
End point, E-N-D point, end point.
End point.
If it's not you, that's fine. Okay, all right, no problem.
Okay, sir.
Yep, thank you very much, appreciate it. Somebody else had a comment?
So this is Jay. I was just going to mention that I hope we're not holding up the mailing of the vouchers and that process until we initial. I'd be fine going ahead and having the vouchers go out before we initial. Normally we wait to initial.
That's correct, and I spoke to Donna about that. Yeah, that's going to happen. When we vote to approve legally, she can start running those checks. So I think the initialing is that all three of us did look them over and were aware of them. But when we vote to approve, then Clint, unless I'm mistaken, I believe legally she can go ahead and run those checks. That's her plan anyway today.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Further public comment? Thanks, Jim. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the April 2020 vouchers as presented, say aye. Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Aye.
And Chairman Flower votes aye as well. Motion carries. The vouchers for April 2020 have been approved, and we will initial those this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Thank you. Next item of business is consideration of replacing the third rooftop unit, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. I think we're going to have to do this, and we probably ought to do it before the thing completely shuts down after the weather starts getting warmer than it is. So would certainly entertain some conversation about that.
I move we replace that unit.
I'll second the motion. It's been moved and seconded to replace the third RTU on top of the county office building. Discussion.
Next item would be probably to get some bids on it and figure out what it's going to cost us.
Yes. And so that brings us to a point. Would either one of you gentlemen care to write an RFP for that?
I'll be happy to.
Let the record show, by golly, that Commissioner Prince has offered to write an RFP for that.
Got to be careful.
Again, you know,
he's a lawyer. You never know what we're going to get.
well, we knew what I got when the chairman tried to write one, so I'm glad to see him step up and volunteer to do that. I appreciate it. Thank you. So, at some point, Jay, if you want to holler at me, we get together. I can get up on the roof or we can ask Ivan to get up there and get all the documentation. I think it's a GE unit now, and so I'm just going to throw this out because this is kind of where we got tied up last time, to replace the existing unit with a comparable unit. Would you think that's reasonable?
Absolutely. That's the way I would write it.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because the one that's up there, it may not even be, they may have moved on to a different model. It's very tough to say replace exactly the same one. It's comparable.
Right. Yeah.
For a regular list. So can I ask the
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask a tongue-in-cheek question, and this is humor for the newspapers out there. What offices are serviced by that, and do we really care if they sweat? That was just a joke. So we'll move on.
All right. The first half of your question was pretty legitimate. I'm not sure where the ductwork from that unit goes, so I couldn't answer that even if you asked it in seriousness. And that's a little different style of unit up there too. I'm not a great HVAC guy, so I can't really speak to it, but it's not of the similar type and style of the two we just replaced. So, Commissioner Prince, do you think we could put back on the May 5 agenda to consider an RFP? Would you think you'd have it done by the 5th?
Absolutely, I'll have it done by the 5th.
Excellent. Miss Kara, I won't be the last time I do this. Miss Kelly, could we add on the May 5 agenda consideration of a rooftop unit RFP?
Yes, I'll put that on there.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. And then, Jay, if you could include some dates when we publish and then when we want them back and all that kind of stuff, that'd be outstanding.
I'll be happy to.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? Any other discussion? I'm sorry. Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote on replacing the RTU on the county building with to include a written RFP. All in favor say aye. Commissioner Prince?
Aye.
Mr. Kanda?
Aye.
Chairman Flower votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Appreciate that, Jay. We'll move on to the read. Somebody have a question? Okay, thank you. We'll move on. Reading of the submitted landfill bids. These are bids submitted. The deadline was April 27th to complete the excavation of the final existing trench out at the landfill. Let me pull that RFP up. I believe that was for 500 additional feet. Let me look here. Yeah, approximately 500 lineal feet, 93 feet wide at the top, 34 feet wide at the bottom. And just a quick comment, gentlemen, and it was an oversight on my part. I did write in the original RFP that they had to provide documentation of liability insurance. On number 6 of the RFP, there were 6 items that needed to be included, and that was one of them. I know we had a little question about that early on. The schedule on the RFP was April 30th to select an excavation company by the BOCC for mobilization and work to begin on May 15th, and the award of that contract was to be May 1st. So hopefully we can, or at least by May 1st. So after reading these, I would hope that the BOCC is in a position to make a decision either today or tomorrow at the latest. If it's tomorrow, we'll have to call a special meeting. Okay, Council, I will turn the floor over to you, sir.
Okay, I've gone through these. Everybody's talked about 11, but I've numbered them, and I come up with 10. And I'm looking at the email that Kara sent me this morning listing the companies, and I count those, and I come up with 10 rather than 11. So
okay.
I'm going to read
Sorry, this is Kara real quick. I was talking with Kelly, and 10 is the correct number. I didn't realize one of them had 5 documents, not 4 with it. So you're correct on that. 10 is the right number.
All right. Then what I'm going to do is read these out, the name of the company, the location of the company, and the dollar amount. There's obviously a lot else that goes along with each of these bids, but I'm just going to give you the dollar amounts. And some of them have the certificates of insurance. They have references, and one of them I think is 37 and 39 pages long. So number one for me is going to be
Clint.
Yeah. Yes.
Excuse me. Before you start, so let's talk about the process a little bit. I'd like to talk before we get into it instead of after you read these. That's what I asked the other day was, because we're obviously on a teleconference, could you just hit the high points, and then are you going to send those out once they're read to the three commissioners, and then we can look at all those documents?
Yes, I'll ask Tara to do that. She has them all in one email now that she sent to me, so I'll have her send them out too.
Yeah, so you'll just hit the high points today. Then, gentlemen, a question for you. How would you envision proceeding then? Do you want to review those today? And then I'm just asking, how do you perceive us going forward?
Well, there's two ways from my point of view. We need to review them, first of all. Secondly, we may have enough information after our executive session today, go back into the general business, and we could probably make an announcement today without calling a special meeting. That's one option. The other one is take a look at them, get back on the May the 4th, or 5th, I should say, make the announcement then. That's two options, I think.
Okay. Yeah, if we don't make the decision by May 1, then we will be however many days past our stated deadline of making that selection. The RFP said they were to be selected by May 1st. And I appreciate your comments.
And a special meeting would have to be called. That's why I mentioned we could do it today and not have a special meeting. So I agree.
Council, we had the reading of the submitted landfill bids on the agenda. Can we make a decision this afternoon? Well, we're probably not going to have time to review that many documents before 1 o'clock. So I just wonder if we shouldn't have a quick special meeting tomorrow.
Well, you may want to. I don't know if you want input from Rusty or Brian on this as well, but these are all over the place as far as the dollar amounts and everything. So they can't be equal as far as I can tell. But I'm just going to read the name of the company, the date that they submitted it, and the dollar amount without going into the breakdown of the dollar amount.
Yeah, okay, and then we'll decide on what we want to do after that. Okay, thank you, sir. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Number one for me is American West Construction. The address is 275 East 64th Avenue in Denver. Bid dated April 27. The total amount is $58,811.
Okay, thank you.
Number two is Colorado Forestry and Earthworks, LLC. That's here in West Cliff, 3050 Highway 96, West Cliff. And the bid goes by CF&E, Colorado Forestry and Earthworks. CF&E is bid $59,919.
Date on that one, sir?
April 27.
Okay, thank you.
Number three is Langston Concrete, April 27. That's 902 South Union Street in Florence. And Langston has bid $75,000 even.
Okay, thank you.
Number four is Mike Kizak Construction, 6200 County Road 37 in Cotopaxi. And that bid is $72,325. And I'm trying to see if there's a date on this one. Yes, I've got several pages here. I don't see a date.
I know for a fact that was submitted on the 27th as well. That was a hard copy, and it was in a sealed envelope, and I had possession of it.
Okay.
What was the amount again? 72,000.
Let me get back to that.
72, 73, 72,325.
That's correct, 72,325. Then we have, and that's Mike Tezak. Then we have one from Tezak Heavy Equipment. That's Daniel Tezak, 205 Tunnel Drive, Canyon City. And April 27th also. And that bid is $116,875.
All right.
116,875. Okay, bid number 6 is from Pintail Oilfield Services. That's located at 705 Northwest 26th Street in Oklahoma City. And Pintail bid trying to find the dollar amount here. I printed out 3 pages, but apparently, oh, here we are. $56,750. Okay. Next one, which is number 7 for me, it's Meridium, and it's MERIDIAM, Meridium Partners, P.O. Box 102-380, Denver, and that bid is $98,572.
Clint, did you have the date on number 6 and number 7?
Number 6 was April 27.
Okay.
Number 7, there, I don't see it. Oh, here it is, April 27.
Okay, thank you.
Meridium Partners, $98,572. Number 8 in my stack is from R.J. Gleason Construction, LLC, 4930 Geiger Boulevard, Colorado Springs. This one is also dated April 27, and the total amount of the bid is $68,385. Okay. Number 9 is from RCD Construction Company. Address is 150 North 2nd Street in Hayden, Colorado. And I'm not seeing a date on this. The bid is $178,972.
Okay, thank you.
And number 10 is from Seifert, locally. April 27th is the date of the bid, $73,200.
Okay, thank you.
So those are the 10 bids that I have.
Okay. I guess just a quick thought. The one that you could not find a date on RCD out of Hayden, was that electronic or hard copy?
I would have to ask,
Okay, that's right. She probably scanned and sent you everything. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she did. And I just printed out the page with the dollar amount on it, so I can't tell you.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder moving forward, just a side note real quick, that those hard copies, we should probably stamp or record on the envelope itself the day we get those. So, okay, yeah. Very good. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So there's 10 bids. You're correct. The dollar amounts are somewhat varied. I wonder, we have the right to reject any or all of these bids, by the way, but I wonder if, I'm still hung up on the process of where we're going to go from here. Obviously, we need these documents so that we can review those. I'm assuming Kara's getting ready to email those out to us now. Well, she's probably working at home this morning, so she may not be able to do that. But Kara, are you on?
I am at home, but I can run up to the office and email them out to all three of the commissioners.
Okay.
Tom, Kara?
Yes, ma'am.
Kara, if you don't, there's no sense in you running to town because I have them. I can send them out to you guys.
Oh, okay. That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
You could probably do that while we're...
Yeah.
I don't think our meeting's going to last a whole lot longer, but yeah, you could probably do that while we're pressing on here. So, gentlemen, assuming we get those in the next hour, how do you... I mean, I know I asked this once, Bill, and I'm not trying to negate what you said. I'm just worried about if we don't stay on the May 1st deadline, we're going to get 10 phone calls saying, hey, I thought you guys were going to make a decision. So,
I don't personally have a problem. But you need to look at them. We got a lot of time if we get through with this meeting, which it looks like we will early. And I believe we can, after our executive session, I think we can have a discussion on this and probably make a selection, be my view.
Yeah, the only issue I have with that, it's not on the agenda, Bill. Unless we can tie making the decision to the reading of the landfill bids, I guess we'd have to agree on that.
I don't see a problem with that. We can make the rules here, I think. And we've got plenty of time. I don't know what the difference would be because the public, there isn't anybody else that's going to be involved in wanting to discuss this further, I don't think. And we got.
Yeah, well, we'll find out here in a minute when I ask for public comment, that's for sure. But I know there were at least two of these companies that were planning had asked for the web or the conference call number and code because they wanted to listen in this morning. But I didn't hear them introduce themselves either, so they may have joined later, which I indicated to both of those individuals they could join the call anytime they wanted. So, Commissioner Prince, how do you feel about making the decision this afternoon, or at least consideration of awarding the contract this afternoon?
I think we should. We have some issues in terms of posting if we're going to do it tomorrow in a special meeting. I agree with you. I think we ought to adhere to the timeline that we published instead that we were going to do rather than push it off to the 5th. So I think it needs to be done either today or a special meeting. It's not on consideration for today, where deadline would be an issue for tomorrow. But I think we have the bids, both they are. I think we could make a decision today. On a different note, if I could just jump in on this, do we know if all 10 bids met the minimum requirements that we put into the RFP? What I'm really asking is, should be rejected just for lack of completeness?
Right. We really don't, and I think our due diligence when we review those documents is to match them with the requirements that were listed in the RFP and make sure that they are. So nobody's read them except Clint. So.
Okay. So I think we need to do that this afternoon. The three of us.
Yeah.
So go over the against the RFP.
By consent, then, gentlemen, let's review these documents individually and evaluate them against the requirements of the RFP and be prepared at the end of the executive, or after we conclude the executive session before we adjourn the BOCC meeting to give consideration to selecting a contractor. Any
I'm
objections?
good with it.
Okay.
Not for me.
All right. Clint, thank you. Kelly, thank you. And Kara, thank you for putting all those together. I know there was it sounded like a lot of pages to some of these, and so appreciate you getting that all put together for us. Thank you. I wanted to just make a comment, too. Obviously, our process seems to be working. I mean, we've gotten 10 bids from certainly state and Oklahoma, so I feel good about the word got out on this deal, and that means I think we've got the right things in place to communicate our needs when it comes to this kind of thing. This is not a consideration item. I said I was going to ask for public comment. That's not going to happen because we're not making a decision right now. We will do that later in the day, and there'll be an opportunity if somebody was present at that live meeting to have public comment. I will ask for that before we vote on selecting a contractor for the landfill. So also reach out to Brian and Rusty pertaining to this and see if they want to be there this afternoon or if they have any comments. Does that seem reasonable, gentlemen?
I think you ought to send it. If you're going to do that, let's have Kelly send them the bids. They need to review them first.
Commissioner Prince, you all right with that?
I have no problem with it.
Okay. Kelly?
Tom?
Yes.
Sorry, this is Jackie. You had stated earlier that the meeting this afternoon would not have any public input. So just not sure how you're going to do that without public input. You were going to have Kelly record it and post it, but no conference. So I don't know. You may want to change that.
Well, there will be no input during the executive session. Obviously, it's an open meeting once we conclude the executive session and reconvene the BOCC meeting.
So
Yeah, but you had decided not to have that conference.
That is correct. That is a live meeting.
Right, so you can get public input on these bids if you want them.
If we wanted to get their input, I think she's saying, Tom, to get the contractors to be present, we'd have to advertise. If they're listening now, they'd have to put it up on the conference call.
I agree with Bill. I think we ought to do this with an open meeting where anybody can comment, during a comment period, of course. I don't think we should do this without the public involvement.
Okay. I don't have an issue with getting back on a conference call, even though we're face-to-face. No problem. The conference call number and the code will remain the same.
Excellent.
So at the conclusion of the executive session, gentlemen, if there are no objections, then we will call back into the conference call. Vernon, are you on board with that? I will touch base with him and make sure that he can arrange that. But I think because this number is not changing for our BOCC meetings, I don't anticipate any problem there. Okay. Anything else, gentlemen, on the landfill situation?
I'm good with it. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Commissioner Kendall?
Yeah, good.
Okay, thanks. All right, next item of business is consideration of live BOCC meetings in lieu of a teleconference meeting. I would entertain some discussion about that, and if a motion once comes before the group, then we can deal with it at that time.
You want to talk first? I move we continue with the live, we institute live BOCC meetings from here forward.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second it for the...
The host has joined the conference.
So, Jay, you seconded the motion?
I did, sir.
The moved and seconded to move back to live BOCC meetings instead of teleconference. Discussion?
Okay, I'll start the discussion first since I brought it up. I had several phone calls I've made over the last few days to find out what other commissioners have been doing and are doing and will do. And several counties, Alamosa County, never has stopped having live meetings. Talked to Darius, and he said to say hi, by the way.
Thank you.
Darius about it, and in fact, they've increased their meetings. They instituted a daily call that was by resolution on just the health board aspect, because it was always discussing the virus situation as a permanent agenda item, and then they had regular meetings as required, necessary, and all of them have been face-to-face since the beginning. Fremont County, Tim Payne said the same thing. They've been in live meetings the whole time, and have been, of course, practicing the social distance requirement, no masks in either case, because it's a closed meeting, it's a government meeting, and they would bring people in with items, if it was an item that affected somebody personally that needed to come before the board. They brought them in, and of course they have bigger rooms, and we're going to have to find a room would be a discussion point where we would actually do this. But I think it's possible to do. Temporarily we can move into the Saddle Club if we have to, but if it has the availability or other rooms. Anyway, that's sort of where I am. I did talk to Greg Felt too and others. So we'll turn it over to Jay for comment.
Thanks, Bill. I'm a big fan of doing it live. However, the social distancing creates a major problem in our commissioner's room. We fit just the executive board, the three of us, Kelly, Clint, and Kara, which doesn't leave room for public. So if we did that, I would really like to have it teleconference also, if possible, so that people can participate. What I'm always concerned about is transparency. I want the public to be involved, to be able to ask questions. And I think if we go into live meetings and with social distancing, whether we have a mask or not, I would defer to Alyssa and Meredith to give us guidance on that. I like the idea of being live, but I'm just not sure how we're going to be able to do that with the public's input until such time as we don't have to worry about the 6-foot distancing. I really would like to hear what Alyssa and Meredith have to say about it, but I like the idea. I'm just concerned that it may not solve our issue as well as I'd like it to.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Give me just a second, gentlemen, here. I'm going to reach out. Alyssa, are you on the line?
Meredith is.
Oh, good. Thank you. That was going to be my next question.
I just jumped in at the right time, I think.
Okay. So we're discussing whether or not to move the BOCC meetings to a live format instead of teleconference. Be interested in your opinion about that.
A few things off the bat. Again, social distancing major. How would you handle the public comment? So would public still be via telephone and then you gentlemen in the room? How would that work?
Yeah, the suggestion Commissioner Prince made was that if we do go face-to-face, we would also include a teleconference capability to do that.
Yeah, so this is my opinion, so can't speak for Alyssa, but I think being able to...
Mayor, I'm on here too.
Oh, okay. Hey.
Thank you.
Being able to ensure that social distancing, would be able to move the meeting to a different room other than the commissioner's room to ensure we can do, would that live setup be able to be moved?
We can. It's not
quite the process
easily done, but I guess it would be a possibility, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me check Tom, just to help with that. I did talk to Vern about that in the Saddle Club building, and he said he can set up a live spot there, internet-wise, as well as making it possible to run those conference calls.
This is Alyssa. I have a thought about that. So even
even if we had like a regular meeting at the Saddle Club building, I'm still not comfortable with a lot of people being in there because there's only one bathroom and one entrance. I mean, I technically, I guess you could open up the other side too, so there's two entrances. But that being said, I think the best next step would be to do like Meredith is implying and do in person for the commissioners and, you know, Clint and Kelly, but have the public still call in. I know that sometimes, I mean, typically there's not a lot of people in there, but sometimes that little room does get packed. And even if we move that room over to the Saddle Club or anywhere else, like I said, there's still only one bathroom. There's still, I don't know, I just think for the next step, it's a better idea to keep the public safer away, and you guys just meet in person and have the telephone conference for the public. Thank you.
I would agree.
Thank you.
I would agree with Alyssa too, Tom. The only caveat I would see is we could bring in the side room wherever a person or two, you know, however it makes sense for wherever we do meet, if it was necessary. If somebody had to be there in person. But I agree.
So, well, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So it seems to me like if the whole purpose is just to get our faces on the internet so that people could see us talking, but we're still doing teleconferencing, why are we doing the face-to-face? Why not just continue with the teleconference until such time as it's safe for people to join us? Other than the occasional stepping over each other while we're speaking because we really can't see each other, maybe we ought to just keep the teleconferencing going. It seems to be working. We don't limit the public. Anybody can come in. So I'm just wondering why we really need to have a face-to-face if it's just the three of us basically on the internet.
Okay, well, I have waited to give my opinion here until everybody had their chance to speak. I am opposed to moving to face-to-face. I think it's a little early. I think it may send a mixed message to our community that we think everything's all right. I agree with Commissioner Friend. I guess my big question was going to be, why do we want to do this? I've been pleasantly surprised at the effectiveness of our conference calls. We actually have less interrupting each other via the phone, I think, than we had been historically live. So I felt real good about that. I'll tell you straight up, gentlemen, and I'll be honest with you, I don't want to open ourselves up to a bunch of crap thrown at us that we're not going to let people into that meeting if we're meeting live. I just don't want to deal with it. I've dealt with it before, and I don't want to deal with it again. I would just as soon continue for the near future of our conference calling. I think it's worked very well. I'm not in favor of moving our meetings all over the county or to one location somewhere in the county. I think if we're going to do live, I'd just soon do it in the commissioner's room. I'm not hung up on the whole live stream thing. It's just an added bonus. I'm tired of hearing people screaming about they can't hear us on the live stream because we can't seem to get organized and committed enough to use those microphones like we intended. So I'm starting to question the whole live streaming thing in the beginning. I'm just tired of the phone calls and the emails being criticized that we might as well not live stream if we're not going to do a good job. So I will probably vote against this motion just because I think it's too soon. We're premature to go live. That's my comments. Any other comments, gentlemen?
No, it doesn't change my mind. I think we can do it. We should do it. Communicate better live. And I think we can do it with an additional, if a public person needs to come in, I think we can accommodate that. I think we have the technology, and I think we should do it. Other counties are doing it, have been doing it. And they're not any bigger than we are necessarily. So, anyway, my opinion.
Okay. Alyssa, Meredith, anything before we go to public comment?
You go. Okay.
Meredith, go ahead.
Okay. Wait. What? Alyssa, you go.
Meredith.
Okay.
Chair recognizes Meredith.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, so
You're welcome.
I don't see the harm in waiting another month. It would allow for some more time, and it fits within, like you were saying, that mixed message. For sure, like we're open. Some things we're going to be opening. However, business is not as usual because we're still within this pandemic. So I think waiting another month is the wiser thing to do.
Thank you. Alyssa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Meredith completely. I feel like safer is always better. So if we can err on the side of caution, that will be my ultimate recommendation, that in every situation that safer is always better. So if you guys feel more comfortable continuing with it this way, I support that completely. There's a lot of us that have very ill people at home, and I think it's better for us to social distance as much as possible and also to set that good example for the community. Thank you.
You're welcome. Further public comment? Public comment? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of moving the platform of the BOCC meeting back to a live meeting instead of teleconference, say aye. Commissioner Pye. Commissioner Candy, you voted aye?
Yes, aye.
Commissioner Prince?
Nay.
And Chairman Flower votes nay. Motion fails on a 1 in favor, 2 against vote. We did not, motion failed. We will not move to a live platform for the BOCC meetings. Obviously, I think the looming question would be when we could do that. I don't have a problem having a discussion every meeting. It doesn't matter to me. I just think since voting that motion down had nothing to do with how long we were going to continue, I think that's open-ended at this point. Would you gentlemen agree with that?
I certainly would agree, because if you consider what we're actually doing, we got a lot of people going through the county that actually on 69 up through Salida that stop and shop. A lot of people, as we open up businesses, are going to be in here. We got to be consistent. So I think we need to look at it every meeting.
I'm fine looking at it every meeting. Like I've said many times publicly, I have the utmost faith in our public health nurse and our director of emergency management, and I will almost always defer to what they say. I made the comment when we started this, I didn't see the utility going face-to-face. I thought it would just make it even more cumbersome than it is right now, because we'd have face-to-face plus the phone. I'm happy to look at it at every meeting, but I'm not going to be comfortable without our professionals telling us that they feel okay with it.
And in light of what we just said, I think in fairness, gentlemen, I'm going to introduce a motion here, and then certainly we can have that discussion. I'm going to move that we meet May 20th via teleconference. I know that we just talked about considering it from one meeting to the next, but I think the implications for the May 20th meeting, I think it's just fair that we make a decision about that. So that's my motion to meet on May 20th teleconference.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, can I suggest that you amend the motion to say May 5th and the May 20th, just so there's no...
Yes, at least that would give us a little breathing room. I would take that suggestion as a friendly amendment and move that we conduct the next two meetings, May 5th and May 20th, via teleconference.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to conduct the May 5th, May 20th BOCC meetings via teleconference. Discussion about that?
Just real quick, if we decide on the 5th, that means are we still going to consider every meeting, having the next meeting be open? So that would possibly mean that we're open on the 20th if we decide that on the 5th. Or are we just saying, forget it, we're not going to consider it until after the 5th, and then we'll decide whether we're going to open up or not? Or the best way to go is to always have a teleconference, is what it sounds like. It sounds like or we're doing a better job on the phone, which we're not, in my view.
Okay, it's a great point of clarification. The motion would be that we conduct the meeting on the 5th and the 20th via teleconference, and then from after the 20th, then I'm comfortable with looking at it meeting to meeting. And obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious. Gentlemen, I assume you know why I made the motion on the April 20th meeting. Is that correct? Or the May 20th meeting?
Not really. Go ahead and explain it to the public.
Well, I'll explain it to the commissioners. We were scheduled to go to the airport for our meeting on May 20th. So I don't personally, obviously, because I made the motion, I don't think that's appropriate. That's why I made the motion.
Okay, I didn't think it mattered whether it was there or in wherever it was, wherever it could be. But that's why I wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, if the motion passes, then we look at it after the 20th, then we can certainly do the meeting-to-meeting conversation. I don't have a problem with that. Further discussion?
If I may, sir.
Go ahead.
I very much like Bill's suggestion about doing this at every meeting. We haven't had staff reports in a long time. I would like to get back to that so, we know and the public knows what the different areas of the county are doing. So I'm in favor of getting back to normal, but I just want to say I'm going to defer to our professional public health nurse and OEM to guide me in when it's the appropriate time.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point, Commissioner Prince, and I don't have a problem with requesting the staff to call in and to set in on that May 5th meeting. If we want to have staff reports, we can sure make that happen. That's not a problem. We should probably decide that today. Would you prefer written staff reports, or do you want the staff to call in and be prepared to give the report on May 5th?
I personally would prefer they call in, so if there are any questions or if the public has any questions or comments, they're available to answer those questions.
Mr. Kanda?
I'm good with that.
Thoughts about that? Okay. I'm pulling up that May 5th agenda. If you gentlemen will bear with me just a second. So, Ms. Kelly?
Yes?
We do not have staff reports on the agenda for May 5th, so why don't we include that?
Okay.
And then put staff reporters will be required to call in to that teleconference and give their report.
And since you usually, I'm assuming since we usually break those into 2 days, you just want everybody on that same May 5th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I would anticipate, gentlemen, those reports will be somewhat abbreviated, and certainly I appreciate the opportunity for us to be able to ask questions of those people, but I don't think it's, I don't see each report being 15, 20 minutes long either.
My suggestion, sir, would be let's go ahead and do May 5th with all of them, see how it goes, and if it becomes cumbersome, then we'll break it up into 2 days that we have done in the past. So let's just give it a shot on the 5th and see where it goes.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's kind of a fluid thing here. So, Commissioner Kanda, are you okay with the idea of everybody being on that call?
Not a problem.
Okay. Kelly, where would you insert that? I forget. I'm looking at the May 5th agenda. I just don't remember. Does it come after the commissioner items or after the administrative assistant items?
It's normally before unfinished business and between public comment and unfinished business.
Okay, I'm going to insert it on my copy then after public comment, before unfinished business. Kara, are you on?
I am.
Could you, at some point, send out an email to the appropriate staff and indicate to them that we've requested them to give their reports?
Yes,
on May
I sure
5th?
will.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, hold on just a second. I will let the chairman of the airport board know that we will not be having our meeting at the airport on May 20th, that will be a teleconference. If that's all right.
Actually, I'm gonna be talking with him, Tom, and I'll tell him.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'll handle it.
Okay. All right. You'll let him know today. So, well, it doesn't have to be today. I'm sorry. I was thinking May 5th. But, yeah, we've got some time there. So, yeah, if you would communicate that to him, Commissioner Canada, that'd be great.
Roger that.
Okay, thanks. Anything else pertaining to the whole BOCC meeting thing? Okay, we'll move on. Any additional items of business, gentlemen, that we need to be aware of?
I have none, sir.
Mr. Kanda?
No from me.
And nor do I. So, at this point, without objection, I will recess this meeting. Let the record show today is April 30th. The time is 10:22 a.m. We will stand in recess. Actually, we'll stand in recess until 1 p.m., at which time then we will reconvene the BOCC meeting and then move into an executive session. We'll conclude the executive session, reconvene the BOCC meeting. We will look at giving consideration to selecting a contractor for the landfill project, and then we followed by adjournment. Is that all right with fellow commissioners?
That sounds appropriate.
Okay. Commissioner Kennedy, you good? All right. So with that, consider this meeting in recess until 1 p.m. Thank you all for being on the call. Appreciate the work everybody's been doing. See you at 1 o'clock.
After the ESO.
Okay.
So we will reconvene the Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting. Let me have to show that this is April the 30th, 2020, and the time is 1 p.m. We will have to speak up a little more. Kelly's recording this, and with masks on, probably going to have to project our voice a little better than normal. So, Jay, would you push the door shut, please? Yes, sir.
Wow, that was...
So we have been in recess since this morning. This is a continuation of the BOCC meeting. The chair would entertain a motion pertaining to moving into executive session.
I so moved.
Let's specify we're going into executive session
Right.
for the purpose of discussing a personnel issue.
Yeah. Would you state the motion, sir, in its entirety?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
I'll move that we move into executive session to discuss a personnel matter.
Okay, I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to convene an executive session for the Board of County Commissioners for discussion of a personnel matter under Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-402, sub 4, sub F, sub 1 and 2. 1 and 2 really don't apply in this particular case, but I'll cite them anyway. All in favor say aye. Commissioner
Aye.
Prince?
Aye.
Commissioner Kanda?
Aye.
And Commissioner Flower votes aye. So let the record show the motion carries, and we will move into executive session. The time is 1:01 p.m. Purpose is for discussion of a personnel issue.
Keyboard form.
Okay, I'm good.
Better keyboard.
Okay, so the BOCC meeting has been called back to order. The time now is 2:10 p.m. on April 30th, 2020, and the executive session has been concluded. The participants in the executive session were myself, Chairman Flower, Commissioner Kanda, Commissioner Prince, Attorney Clint Smith, Clerk to the Board, Kelly Kemper, Office of Emergency Management Manager Meredith Nichols, and Administrative Assistant to the Board, Kara Evans. For the record, if any person who participated in the executive session believes that any substantial discussion of any matters not included in the motion to go into the executive session occurred during the executive session, or that any improper action occurred during the executive session in violation of the open meetings law, I would ask that you state your concerns for the record. And for the record, I was concerned about the conversations that got off onto this letter of support and how that was handled in the BOCC meeting. I didn't believe that was appropriate. The topic of the letter in its original sense, I think, was appropriate, but I think we kind of went off the rails, and that's why I asked for that discussion to end. Does anyone else have any concerns you want to state for the record?
No.
All right. Council statement pertaining to executive session.
As the county attorney, I was present during the entire executive session. In my legal opinion, it did stay on point, the conversations, that it was strictly a personnel issue, and even though you had some concerns that it was straying off, I felt it was all relevant. It all tied together, and there were no decisions that were made in the executive session, so I'm satisfied it was done in accordance with the open meeting rules.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. The next item on the agenda is signing or initialing the vouchers. We voted on them this morning, so I will start that and pass those around. And if you guys are okay, we can keep moving on while we're doing that.
Kelly, you got a form for me to sign?
No, we only have to do that one when it's legal.
Legal
This whole
advice.
thing
When we're
is
not
okay.
recording and,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And then some updates that have occurred since this morning's meeting, or I just absolutely overlooked them. One, the Custer County Kids Council. I'm assuming, gentlemen, you've met and know the new director of Custer County Kids Council, been in office a couple months.
I have not met her.
Okay. Stacy Terrell. They were awarded a $25,000 food insecurities grant, and so I will be on a call with that Department of Human Services and the early childhood offices on Friday, and we will follow up with that. I'm sure we've all received the fire update. I did not see an acreage number on the latest
13 is what I
update,
saw.
but that was I saw that number 13, but it was
this morning.
April 28th.
Just look, when I look, but maybe it's still at 13 then.
Said
So,
the one I saw this morning was 13.
so, and then, again, I certainly misspoke this morning when I said that the RFP called for the, excuse me, for the bids to be open April 1. That is not the case.
Sorry.
I don't even check. I forgot to do that. I started.
I don't have my phone.
Okay, let me do that real quick. Gosh, we're gonna get ourselves in hot water here. Give me just a second, gentlemen.
For what?
Get back on this call in case the newspaper wants to call.
Okay, you better do that.
That's what I'm working on here, so. Come on.
Call with this.
I'm trying to get a hold of Vern. Yeah.
And when you ended this morning, you said you weren't gonna get back
Yeah,
on the
that's
call.
true.
So I think they're probably not expecting it.
So we'll move on. I said this morning that the RFP called for the contract to be awarded May 1. I was looking at a line right below it that said June 1, and I got totally confused, so I misspoke. The RFP calls for that award to be made May 5th. It is on the May 5th agenda. I had one person call today, and that was it. So I'm prepared to postpone any action on that until the agenda item comes up on May 5th. Any objection, gentlemen?
No.
Okay. And then the last thing we want to do, I want to invite in Rusty and Brian, unless you guys have anything else before we do that, because I figured that'd be the last thing. Kelly, go ahead.
You gotta finish your motion.
Oh, yeah, good point. I had it in my notes, I didn't have it on my agenda. We actually left a motion on the table when we went into recess. And that motion was seconded. We were in the period of discussion. And that was whether or not the motion was to teleconference the meeting of May 5th and May 20th. And we went into recess before we voted on that. So is there any further discussion about that? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of teleconference platform for May 5th and May 20th, say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries, and then we will deal with that meeting from one meeting to the next from there on. Thank you, Kelly, I appreciate that. So if you guys, anything else? Jay, do you have anything?
Are we gonna discuss the landfill RFP?
No, well, yeah, we could certainly discuss that. Yeah, I thought we would do
Aren't
that
they gonna come in here?
on the 5th, but.
Oh.
What's Rusty?
I was just coming up with I was just gonna throw out a suggestion on how to determine out of 10.
Right.
And what I was gonna suggest is maybe we just focus on the bottom, I'd say bottom, the lowest cost, top 4 or 5, dismiss the 4 or 5 highest ones.
Okay.
I have a preference to give additional weight to local. We have a couple of Westcliff people involved. So those are kind of things that I was that's kind of things I was going to throw out on the table. I mean, I don't think we need, like the first one I'm looking at, the highest one was 179,000
Right.
basically from Hayden, Colorado.
Right.
How much time do we want to spend going over that bid?
Yeah, it was in the
That's just
same
my
line.
point.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what my thought is. I will not do this until I truly believe it's appropriate, but my initial reaction was probably on May 5th to introduce a motion to reject all of those bids, strictly because in my opinion we cannot afford it. And that, I'm willing to have a discussion about that today, or we can have that discussion on May 5th.
We need to have that discussion, because what are we gonna do if we don't?
Then I think we back up and take another look at it.
figure out how do we do it differently. And I've got an opinion about that, but probably not appropriate for me to share it yet, so.
So can I just ask an off-the-wall question? I know today is Rusty's last day after 30 years with the county. And did you know also that it's Ray Kay Rushlow's last day? You know if you knew that?
No, I hadn't heard a word about that.
It is. I've been in contact with her, and I think that's gonna. I mean, I love the ladies in there, but I think Kay is just wonderful. So
I didn't know it was
that's
today.
a shocker to me. Well, these gentlemen are waiting. I think I know where you're going, Jay, and I agree. I think, and Bill, I think this is probably where you were headed. I think we have a conversation eventually about trying to get the trench done differently. That's all.
That's where I was gonna. Maybe we hire Rusty. I don't know.
With that, if you guys are okay, would you just ask him to come in, Jay? If you don't know, I bought Rusty a retirement gift today. We kind of got with our britches down. If Donna had not reminded me that today was his last day, I would have told him.
I talked to Rusty, so I forgot earlier.
So you need those. You pointing at those boots, are you, Jay?
Sir?
You're pointing at those boots.
Yes, I will give it to Donna. I think she's actually coming over here.
Jeez, I just fall asleep on your waist at the same time.
I know, can you imagine? Every day.
Come in, gentlemen.
And we can't shake hands with him, can we?
I know.
We can't do
45
anything.
minutes.
Hello.
Go on.
Yeah, it was.
Mr. Brian, how are you, sir?
Good, you?
Hello.
Good.
Say, Brian.
Happy birthday.
Oh,
Wait a minute, there's a smile behind my face.
Of course.
For a while.
Behind his mask, I should say.
Get in out of the doorway.
Come in and shut the door.
Come on in.
Can't stand hide behind the door, you rascal. How
You
are
got
you?
a better mask, Rusty, unless you want to.
This is Hard Rap Cafe, buddy.
All right. You guys are welcome to have a seat. You can grab another chair. Or...
You take my chair.
Yeah, here's
All those two's been sitting all afternoon, so I'm sure they're ready.
Go ahead, Rusty.
Anyway, Rusty, I appreciate you guys coming in and just wanted to kind of formalize a little more. 30 years is a long time. So, you started out as an operator?
Single.
Pardon?
Yeah, I started out at Road and Bridge.
Yeah, as an operator? Or?
10 years.
Yeah. So I think, I know this will sound lame, and I've already told you this on the phone, but because of stupid COVID-19, I just have been wrapped up. I think we all have been wrapped up in that, and just, we all knew today was your last day, but we totally spaced it out, or at least I did. I can't speak for these two gentlemen. But we wanted to just reach out to you and congratulate you and tell you how much we appreciated your work at the landfill. I can't talk about Road and Bridge really, because I was not involved in those days. I was teaching, so.
Yeah, it was all good.
But I think you've done a great job at Road and Bridge while I've been in office anyway, and I think my cohorts here would agree. And so,
We were talking earlier, it goes
It's
faster.
been good. I mean, yeah, 30 years, geez.
we wanted to present you with a little retirement gift. It's not a gold watch, it's not a bag full of diamonds, but you're welcome to. I appreciate
It's
your.
really not worth anything, you're saying.
Heavy.
Went the wrong way.
Oh,
So, drag it out here, because
Custer County.
the other commissioners haven't even seen it yet. So you drag it out and show it to us, please. Now, buy him a set of drill bits.
What every man needs.
Yeah. I like the wall drill. Uh-oh. Oh.
You gotta use your own tools from now on.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
So as I come to realize.
From the shop.
And Rusty, you probably know this, these new fancy high-powered torquey steaking drills, they don't use a regular chuck. They're a slip chuck, so you have to retool all your bits, drill bits and all that. So I thought we better, Jay, right behind you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Was there any cake? Is there any cake left back there for Donna or no?
Oh, I just ate the last one. I'm so sorry. I had 30.
Sorry, Donna.
It was so good too.
I'm invited Donna over. She's probably got more history with Rusty than, well, I know she does than anybody in this room. So thanks for coming over.
Not really, I'll tell you a story. Back in, back in about 1974, I think it was, or it might have been 72.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not going to, sorry, Bill.
I'll tell you something you've done.
We don't need that recording. No. All right. Thank you, sir. Bye. Sorry, Bill. I knew that's why you were calling.
Yeah, so I'll tell you this story, and Rusty knows it very well. Because back in 72, I was in college, came back home. I had a T-Bird with an aerial that goes up and down like this. And it had a plastic guts that ran it up and down. We were having a dance in the old VFW hall, we call it, which is the Westcliff School house. And we always had dance there. The only law we had was Stan the priest. And he didn't like getting out of bed for anything, really, if he didn't have to. But that particular night was pretty, he came out one time because somebody pulled a gun and shot it in the air. But not long after that, another VFW all dance is going on. And they came up to me when we were dancing, and they said, your antenna's broken out there. Somebody broke it. They said, it must be some of those tourists from Pueblo. They always used to come up here in bothers. And there was a set of tourists, we called them, that were called the Dalton brothers. They had a Dalton family who lived above our place up on the mountains right next to Rainbow Trail. And of course, everybody looked at me like we had to do something. That's cause for battle. And so I said, they broke my antenna? And I said, yeah. So you look around, they said, they're all gathering around you. I said, John Rice was there, Big John and a bunch of guys. And so I had to act like I cared. So I walked out the door to look at my antenna. And there it was, flopped over the side of the car, and right beside it was a red Jeep with Pueblo license plates. You could tell it was Pueblo because it said GP or G whatever, the prefix, or ZA. Mm-hmm. And everybody filed out of the VFW hall, including the band, and wanted to know what I was going to do. So I didn't want to get into a fight. We gathered around, over to the side. Did you break my antenna? No, I didn't break it. Yes, you did. Somebody here said you did. They saw you do it. About that time, I said, what's the next move? Up in a pickup comes a rattly old truck, and in that truck was this little short guy, about that tall, I thought at the time. Gets out, he left his girlfriend in the front seat, and I don't even know who that was. Comes out, and out of the corner of my eye, we're standing around like this, and all of a sudden we're talking, did you did it? I did it. And this kid goes up, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, you're too big, and went bam, hit the little guy, hit the dirt, went to his pickup, and off he went in a cloud of dust. Who was that?
Larry.
And what did you do?
You did the hitting or you got it?
That was back in the good old days, and so Rusty and I go back, and the family goes back a long ways too.
Oh yeah.
Larry.
Well, we appreciate all your years of service, Rusty. We're gonna miss you.
Thank you.
I hope you got old Mr. Bryan lined up, and
he's doing very well.
Good.
I think.
Good. Well, we're certainly thankful for your time, and I hope we can, if needed, look to you to get us through the rest of this transition. I know you guys have been working on the expansion. I saw we wrote a check for a ton of money to those guys, so hopefully we're off and running, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I'd just like to give you a round of applause. I don't know what else to do. Thank
you.
Can't help
That was a standing ovation for that here. Yeah, standing ovation.
Meanwhile, you're training Brian, and you got him under control now, right, Rusty?
So I would like to, when we get this meeting adjourned, if we don't mind, we can go out front here and form a little semicircle, keep our distance, put Rusty in the middle. We'll pull our mask down, take a quick picture for the newspaper, and we'll put a press release out thanking you publicly for all your years of service. So, anything else to come before the board at this time? Just a reminder, gentlemen, any agenda requests, we will now forward those to Kelly instead of Kara, so that's a change in policy or protocols there.
So one of the things you'd asked them to do is to take a look at these, you could tell them what we're doing next.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, sir. I had talked to them on the phone this afternoon. They'd just gotten those, so they hadn't had a chance to look at them when I talked to them, but we are postponing that decision until May 5th. It's on the agenda. And so we've had a brief discussion here, but I looked at every one of them. I certainly did not read through them before I came to town for this meeting, so.
I think Rusty had the same impression. They're all pretty high.
I looked at all of them.
Did you? Yeah. You know, by design, we didn't advertise what kind of money we had been spending and what we really had budgeted, but, you know, we're over 100% more than what we had budgeted to spend on that project. So we'll see how that goes on May 5th. And if you guys have some comments you want to interject, you can certainly take those.
Yeah, I think whatever you guys can do. I mean, I'm not going anywhere, so
okay.
If you need some help, just let me know. We'll do something.
Perfect, yeah. So, all right. Anything else, gentlemen, for the good of the order? Without objection, this meeting is adjourned. The time is 2:34.